Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into Wealth and Well-Being, the 2026 Indian Professionals Playbook. Let's just be real for a second. The landscape right now is intense. You're navigating an era of hypergrowth expectations, silent but incredibly aggressive inflation, and the relentless 24/7 pressure of social media lifestyle benchmarks. I mean, if you're in a fast-paced corporate job today, managing your actual career is just half the battle. Managing your money and the immense psychological weight that comes with it is the real challenge we've got to figure out. So tell me if this hits home. Are you earning way more than you used to, but somehow feeling less wealthy and a lot more exhausted? It's kind of the defining paradox of the modern professional experience. Think about that moment on payday. You look at your bank account and yeah, objectively, the number is higher than it was 5 years ago. Yet there's this underlying, overwhelming sense of dread about the future, right? Between the grueling hours you're putting in and that subtle or maybe not so subtle pressure to constantly upgrade your life to match your peers, you're just left completely drained. You've got the high-paying job, sure, but where is the actual peace of mind? Well, a massive driver of all this exhaustion comes down to one very specific trap: lifestyle inflation. Basically, this is when your rising income leads directly to rising spending on status symbols. And what that does is effectively delay your future goals and dramatically slow down your actual wealth accumulation. Imagine you get a big promotion. Congrats. But instead of investing that bump, you suddenly feel this urgent need to upgrade from a perfectly reliable hatchback to a luxury SUV. Or, moving to a way more expensive zip code just because it looks the part. Upgrading your lifestyle like this eats directly into your potential wealth. It completely shifts your focus from buying future freedom to just maintaining present-day status. To tackle this, here's the playbook we're running through today. First, the modern success trap. Second, core wealth building rules. Third, navigating big liabilities. Fourth, the work-life mandate. And finally, strategies for true balance. Starting with Section 1, the modern success trap, and this dual crisis of burnout and lifestyle creep, let's really look at how this intense cultural pressure to overwork directly feeds our urge to overspend. Before we get into the heavy numbers, keep this quote from the Journal of Financial Planning in mind. Rules of thumb are for people who want to decide things without thinking about them. It's so true, isn't it? The financial guardrails we're about to discuss are absolutely crucial starting points, but they are not replacements for your own personalized planning. There is no magic rule that perfectly accounts for your specific income, your exact risk tolerance, or your unique family situation. You really have to internalize these insights, check if your current habits are wildly off track, and then actively adjust them to fit the reality of your actual life. Okay, moving right along to Section 2, Core Wealth Building Rules. Let's look at your essential financial guardrails for 2026. Now, for a long time, the classic asset allocation rule for, say, a 35-year-old was simply 100 minus your age. That basically suggested keeping 65% of your portfolio in equity and 35% in debt. But the 2026 reality requires a major shift. Because urban professionals are living significantly longer now, and let's not even talk about how fast healthcare costs are skyrocketing, many financial planners are actually pushing this formula to 110 or even 120 minus your age for equity exposure. And this isn't just about wildly taking on more risk. It's about making sure your money grows aggressively enough to actually fund a retirement that could easily stretch for 30 or even 35 years. And speaking of outdated rules, the old textbook advice for an emergency fund was to stash away 3 to 6 months of expenses. But look, if you're a senior executive in the private sector today, running a massive 2 to 3 lakh monthly expense base, 3 months of savings is dangerously low. Honestly, it's just not enough anymore. Recent post-layoff raves have shown us that higher compensation packages usually mean a much smaller pool of available jobs. If a tech or corporate slowdown hits, it could easily take you anywhere from 6 to 18 months to find a comparable role. You absolutely must size your emergency fund for the harsh reality of your specific sector, not some dusty old textbook. Let's talk about a really staggering number for a second: 2.5 crore rupees. That is the exact brutal cost of procrastinating on a $10,000 monthly SIP from age 25 to age 35. Seriously, let me walk you through the math on this because it's wild. If you start investing that 10 grand a month at 25, assuming a totally realistic 12% return, you'll hit roughly 3.5 crore by the time you're 60. But if you decide to hold off until you're 35 to start that exact same investment, you'll end up with barely 1 crore. Those 10 years of delay literally cost you 2.5 crore rupees in lost compounding. This right here is exactly why starting early is the absolute mathematical foundation of your financial freedom. So what does this all mean for the big question? How much do you actually need to retire? Well, the old 20 times your income rule is now basically just the bare minimum floor. If you're an urban professional planning to retire at 55 and you expect to live to 90, you really need to be targeting 25 to 30 times your annual income. And here's exactly how this ties back to lifestyle inflation. Because you need a multiple of your income, every single time you unnecessarily inflate your current lifestyle, you dramatically increase the absolute total number you need to hit to retire. Keeping your expenses grounded directly lowers the mountain you have to climb later.
Let's jump into Section 3, Navigating Big Liabilities. We've got to set some strict boundaries on homes, loans, and cars before they weigh us down. Okay, the traditional rule of thumb is that your house shouldn't cost more than 2 to 3 times your annual income. But let's be real, in major Indian metros in 2026, where a decent 2 BHK can easily run you anywhere between 80 lakh and 2 crore rupees, this rule is functionally unusable. And honestly, this creates a massive psychological trap. Societal pressure is constantly pushing young professionals into these crippling 20-year EMIs. If you're looking at a home that is 8 or 10 times your income, you have to be brutally honest with yourself about how that massive debt will destroy your liquidity, heavily compress your lifestyle, and potentially trap you in a job you hate just to make those monthly payments. To protect yourself, you really need some strict boundaries for your liabilities. A good golden rail, your total EMIs across all your loans shouldn't cross 36% of your gross monthly income, and your home loan specifically should be capped at 28%. Then there's the 24-10 rule for buying a car. This is an absolute game changer. Put 20% down, take out a maximum 4-year loan, and keep the EMI under 10% of your income. Why a strict 4-year maximum? Because cars are rapidly depreciating assets. If you stretch a car loan over 7 years just to afford a fancier status symbol, you're inevitably going to find yourself underwater, literally owing more in the car than it's actually worth.
Moving into Section 4, the work-life mandate. This is where we shift from financial boundaries to time boundaries. Because at the end of the day, mastering your money provides the ultimate leverage to protect your time and your mental health.
A recent Naukri.com survey came out and revealed that a whopping 78% of Indian employees now view work-life balance as an essential factor when evaluating jobs. Just think about why that number is so incredibly high. We are witnessing a massive cultural awakening here. The post-pandemic realization in corporate India has completely shifted the baseline regarding what employees are actually willing to tolerate. Work-life balance is no longer just some soft HR buzzword. It's a fundamental requirement for survival. Because without it, the stress is eventually going to cause your productivity and, more importantly, your health to just fall off a cliff.
But achieving this balance, it is incredibly difficult because we're fighting some really deep systemic issues. Traditional expectations have always valued career success over personal life. Add to that the fierce job market competition that's driving everyone to work longer hours. But perhaps the most damaging factor is the whole hustle culture glorified by so many startup founders. This creates a really toxic benchmark where 70-hour work weeks are praised and expected, leaving a massive lack of robust supportive policies in many organizations. Employees just feel forced to burn themselves out just to prove their commitment. So let's wrap up with Section 5, Strategies for True Balance. Let's talk about actually reclaiming your time and your mental peace.
To build this kind of balance, you have to take absolute charge of your time. And here are 5 clear steps to do just that. Step 1, set firm boundaries for your working hours and actually communicate them clearly to your team. Step 2, stop treating every single email as an emergency. Use the Eisenhower matrix to separate what is truly urgent from what is just important, and prioritize accordingly. Step 3, utilize tech wisely to disconnect. I literally mean taking Slack or your work email off your personal phone so you aren't getting pinged in the middle of dinner. Step 4, take intentional breaks throughout the day to reset your focus. And Step 5, actively pursue hobbies for your mental health. You have to be intentional about creating joy outside the office walls.
So I'll leave you with this. Which of these rules do you actually follow? And which one surprised you the most? Are you actively building a life, or are you just funding a lifestyle? I really encourage you to take a hard look at your financial and mental boundaries today before someone else decides them for you. Check if your EMIs are silently eating away at your future, or if you're answering emails at midnight at the cost of your own peace. Remember, true wealth means having money in the bank, yes, but also having the time to actually enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Now go out there and take control of your playbook today.